Hi guys, work is progressing on the new shop. If you missed the last vlog, let me summarize it for you. This is St. Charles. This is the post office. My dog peed on it, so I had to buy the whole building. And now I'm moving from a 400 square foot garage to 2,800 square feet in this place. We already framed in 2 new rooms and turned down 2 job seekers. Folks gave me a little crap over the carpet and the suspended ceiling, and I told them to wait and see how it plays out. Now we're starting on the electrical work. We have 100 amp service at the panel, which I admit isn't much for a woodworking shop. But we're not really a woodworking shop, not a production shop. We're more of a woodworking video studio. And I ran this woodworking video studio along with my entire house quite happily off 100 amps for years. So I think we should be fine, as long as we consolidate some of the circuits that were already in the box, which looked like they were installed by a monkey with a learning disability, and add some 220 circuits. Now, before you head to the comments and call me an idiot, because actually it's not 220 volt, it's 240 or 270 or whatever the actual voltage is these days in the United States, you should know that I don't care. I'm going to say 220 all through this video because that's what dumb hicks like me say. I know it's not technically 220. It's like calling everything you wipe your nose with a Kleenex or everything you embarrass yourself at the beach with a Frisbee. 220 is sort of a general phrase. And in this workshop, I generally need 5 220 circuits. One for the dust collector, one for the air compressor, one for the table saw and machine island in the middle of the shop, one for the bandsaw at the far end near the door, and one for the lathe. Of course, my bandsaw and lathe don't run on 220, but they might someday. I believe in them. We could fish wires through the existing walls and make it look all nice and pretty, but I believe a workshop should be easy to change and adapt. So all the new circuits are run through the ceiling and down the outside of the walls in steel conduit. That way I can tap into one and add something new should the spirit move me. And here's where that drop ceiling starts to pay off. We can run all sorts of stuff up there and nobody will be the wiser, except for the building inspector, who wants even wire in the ceiling to be inside conduit. That adds some extra work and some extra expense, but we're going to save a lot by not having to follow the walls to run circuits to the various sides of the rooms. This really pays off right here. This drop down will power the table saw, jointer, planer, and drum sander all in a little cluster or island here in the center of the shop. It contains both 220 and 110 circuits, and while it looks like it's going to be in the way, this is where the dust collection duct will have to come down from the ceiling anyway. So we'll be adding a post later to secure everything. If you've never pulled wires through conduit, you haven't lived. It really starts with pushing, not pulling. These are 10 gauge wires for the 220 circuits, and they're pretty stiff. As long as your bends are smooth, you can push the whole bundle through them and around the corners, and the only place that they're likely to catch is at the junction boxes. But you usually want them to stop at the junction boxes because that's where you turn some wires to branch off in different directions. I think that's why they call them junction boxes. It's actually much easier than running wires through a ceiling that aren't covered with conduit, as I discovered when I installed the monitors. There are 3 of them mounted in the ceiling in the main shop area. Just like we had in the old shop here, we had monitors on the wall that you could display SketchUp models on, so wherever you were in the shop, you could see the dimensions of the parts that you're working with. These will be throughout the workspace here in the new shop. And you can also connect the cameras to them during filming, and they're going to be connected to the cable television in the office in case somebody wants to watch the Kardashians while they work. So all of it will have to be interconnected in different ways and then connected to a computer in the main shop and then a cable box in the back of the main shop. Really, we're talking about an extensive network of cables and splitters for these 3 monitors and hundreds of feet of HDMI cable that had to be run through the ceiling, which is a real pain. But it would have been far worse if I didn't have a suspended ceiling to hide them in. See, that's why I didn't tear the ceiling out and burn it like some of you said I should. Speaking of hiding things in the suspended ceiling, wait until you see the new lighting. It's going to blow your mind. But I'm still waiting for it to come in. So for now, it's time to just sit back and have ourselves a cold one, because you've earned it, my friend. If you get what you pay for, then why are bandsaw blades so inexpensive at sawblade.com? Seriously, they're as good as any I've used. They come in any size you need, and they cost quite a bit less than anything comparable at the woodworking retailers. Try them for yourself at the link below this video. You'll see. Wait, don't go yet. If you're new here, please subscribe and remember to ring the bell. I would really appreciate that. Give us a thumbs up, or better yet, leave us a comment. I always read them. And be sure to check out the latest issue of Stumpy Nubs Woodworking Journal. It's always packed with tips, tricks, and tutorials designed to make you a better woodworker.